So this one I think is stats number 4, is it? And I think it's choosing a data display. And actually, when I look back at the notes, that's not really what the lesson's on. The lesson's a little bit different than that. It's more talking about the two major types of data you may have. Okay, so here's 2 words I want to talk about mainly for the lesson. The 2 words are qualitative. Well, let's start out with the first word. Let's reverse it. Let's do quantitative versus qualitative. There we go. And if I can do this well, I won't reverse them. But you can hear how similar they sound. Everybody say quantitative. Everybody do it. Quantitative. Do you hear the T's in there? The quantitative, right? Now say qualitative. And do you hear the L, right? Qualitative, right? That's the fundamental difference in those 2 words. So they're largely the same, but big differences in what they mean, right? So quantitative sounds like quantity / number. So let's deal with that first. Quantitative sounds like quantity / number. So does that make sense? Say quantitative again. Say quantitative. And then say quantity. Are you with me? This is some derivation of this, right? This is the, which form? Help me out with my English forms. Quantity is a noun, right? And quantitative is a description of it. I'm going to get out of my league here really quickly. I forget. Adjective maybe? Adjective form of that word or something? Help me out. Adverb form? I can't. You guys are going to have to help me. Okay. But anyway, you see they're from the same word. They're being used differently. So you're saying, is this data quantitative, right, versus qualitative? So here's what it is. These data sets describe a quantity number. So it sounds like quantity number. These data sets describe just what it is, a quantity or a number, all right? And here are some examples. Ages of attendees at a concert. And maybe as I'm writing these on the board, you're thinking through your work and doing research for some reason, right? That's what data is all about. You're collecting data for some reason. Why would we care about ages of attendees at a concert? I don't know, maybe we're a business, right? Businesses are always interested in who is the customer. In fact, they'll try to define their customer by a lot of different descriptions. Some of them you may find offensive at some level, right? But they do. They're working at it every day. They're asking about the gender of their customers. Who are, I would presume, depending on the type of business I am, that may be very important to me as a business person trying to reach that customer, right? Businesses only have so much money for their marketing budget. Marketing means how they reach the customer. If it's dependent on age, which in a lot of cases it is, think of the different types of music different age groups listen to, right? You might be able to predict what music I listen to based upon my age. If I tell you when I went to high school, a lot of times in our early years, ages 14 through 18, somehow we become attached to certain types of music, right? And it stays with us the rest of our lives, right? So now I'm older, so I'm listening to oldies, right? Because I went to school, I was in high school in the 80s, right? I graduated in 1986, so you can go back and look at all the music that I listened to, and you can pretty much predict the bands that I know well, right? You can pick music from, say, your era, potentially where you are right now, right? I may not know those bands at all. A lot of the playlists that you guys pick, I would have never known those if you hadn't told me to pick those songs, right? So the ages of attendees at a concert becomes important. So what type of data are you collecting? Quantitative data, because it's a quantity or number. All right, let's go through some others. Average daily temperatures. Average daily temperatures. Temperatures. I'm so sorry. Not only is it bad handwriting, but I can't spell. Okay, average daily temperatures. How many of you like to watch the weather on your phone each day? A few of you. I saw some hands, right? My wife is obsessed with checking the weather. And for me, I don't care at all. I just want to look outside and see how it is, right? And we happen to live in a climate that's reasonably predictable. So if you check the weather, how hot is it going to get today? Did you check today? What'd you say? 80s? Did you check, Susanna, how hot's it going to get today? What? You're gonna, okay. I think it is. I think it's the 80s. And this is unseasonably warm for us, right? Why do you want, and so you see the numerical, see the quantity part, right? See the number involved. How warm is it going to get today? 85, whatever it is, right? And we're lucky enough to live in a climate where it gets that warm because I love it, okay? But this is the data you're collecting. What type of data? Data, quantitative, fair enough? What's another big reason nowadays you might be checking average daily temperatures? What are you looking for, potentially? What's a bigger picture you're looking for? Yes, Andrea? Air quality, good, because a lot of times when it's hotter, the air quality is lower potentially. What else? What's a big issue? Global issue. What are we looking for right now? I'm hoping your brain is saying, raise your hand if you're thinking this. Global warming? Are you thinking of this, right? You're thinking about, can I figure out a way? Are there people out there saying we don't have global warming right now? They're saying the data is inconclusive, right? So data becomes very important. We're trying to argue what's happening right now. We're trying to figure out what's going on all around us. And if these changes are real, they could kill us, right? They could kill all of us, the entire population on the earth, right? There's been these expansions and contractions throughout the history of the earth. Hotter temperatures and colder temperatures. The ice ages often follow, right? And I'm not an expert on it, but you guys probably should be. And unfortunately, my kids at home that grew up, they're like, Dad, you didn't really care about this in your generation, and now I got to live with it, right? And unfortunately, that's true. There's a lot of these things falling upon you that now it's urgent, right? Okay, surface areas of land. Surface areas of land. All right, what's a surface area of land? So, now that I'm on the whole global warming thing, I'm thinking about, maybe surface areas of glaciers that are changing or disappearing, or rising. Water levels globally means that areas of land may be shrinking, right? Certain low-level countries or states in the United States are worried about changes in areas of land. But nonetheless, numerical, right? Number. Okay, so that's quantitative. Let's go to the next one. Quantitative data will get you certain answers potentially to certain questions. But there's a whole other side of data. So qualitative sounds like quality. All right, so qualitative, quality. Say it in your mind a couple times so you kind of hear the difference between quantitative, right? So what is quality? So these data sets describe quality. All right, let's do the first one. The first one is colors of marbles in a bag. I'm not sure I like that example, but always in statistics classes, they're always talking about the color of marbles in a bag. It's like a universal example. Although probably none of us in this room have ever had a bag of marbles. I don't know if I ever have, and I've lived a long time. And always the marbles I saw were always a mixed color, but they do have solid color marbles, I assume, right? Marbles, I think, are made of glass. I don't even know what marbles are made of. Okay, but think of it maybe, you know, in all the different ways that you could think of colors of something being appropriate. I don't know, maybe it's an insect, and maybe it's, I don't know, changing its color to camouflage itself with its surroundings, right? But think of the idea of colors, and think of how different that is from the ages of someone at a concert, right? How do we categorize colors? I mean, I know we always say red, green, blue, and we list them off. But you've seen blues. How many different shades of blue is there? A lot, right? You're going to use infinite at some point. You're going to go the shades of colors. If you look at the color spectrum and you start to blend and go from one color to the other, slowly but surely, any way you stop in there is an infinite, and if you spread it out, it's infinite. So measuring colors with data, think of this now, right? Think of the problem in your mind. Think of one person going, oh, the marble's blue, and another person saying it's, you know, what's another? Well, let's use red. One says red, the other says cyan or something like this, right? Right? There's shades. So notice the idea of quality embedded in that type of data, and notice how difficult the data collection may all of a sudden become. But how important is quality in data collection? Very important. And depending on what you're trying to answer, this is maybe your only choice. Okay. Flavors of coffee beverages. I like this because this is way more relevant. Flavors of coffee beverages. This is, to me, very relevant. How many of you drink coffee in the morning? I see a couple of hands, right? For you, how many of you that drink coffee, how many of you drink hot coffee? Okay. How many drink cold coffee? So this is very interesting because this is a huge shift between generations. My generation drinks hot coffee drinks. Your generation drinks cold coffee drinks. And I was watching the Business Channel just over the weekend, and it's the CEO of Starbucks, and he's talking about the rollout of cold coffee beverages that Starbucks now serves. What do you think the percentage of cold beverages is at Starbucks now compared to hot? Give me a percentage. What'd you say? I didn't hear. I'm too. How much? I can't even hear. 15? 50? Yeah. Good guess. He said 50. In fact, their cold beverages now make up 55% of all the drinks they serve nationwide, or I think globally. It must be a global. So the trend is, and by the way, guess what they're measuring, right? At Starbucks, you're the new customer group in Starbucks now, your age group, right? You, as you roll through college and into your younger adult years, you're the ones buying the drinks at Starbucks. They're very interested in what type of coffee you want, right? Very interested. Their entire business model depends on them shifting to cold beverages right now, and they've done a lot of flavors. They have this nitro brew and all these other things, right? I don't know if you've tried these. I haven't yet, but I like hot coffee, and so I don't know if they fit me, right? But very interesting. How in the world are you going to collect data on coffee flavors? It's definitely a quality issue. With me? There's not numerical. It's quality right now. Okay, so tastes of different spices. You get the idea, I think. Tastes of different spices. Okay. Types of movies at a theater. All right, types of movies at a theater. So, what else is in the notes? Without going into it very far at all, and I'm not very good at this. I'm not an expert on this by any sense of the word. However, I did go to a master's degree where we were doing research, and I helped a professor write a research paper, and it was my business degree. And this researcher's question was based on meetings. So the researcher was asking, what types of meetings are better meetings or more productive? It's not quantitative at all, it's qualitative. It's dealing with the quality of the meeting, the people in the room. And what he did to measure this, just to understand, how do you even get at measuring quality? He decided that certain words meant certain things and made a list of each set of words. So sometimes in meetings, participants were aggressive, almost mean to each other, right? So he had a list of words that described that sense of, oh, the meeting's turning mean. These people are being mean to each other, right? And so he would record the meetings, have somebody transcribe them, and then count the number of words, and that changed the quality issue of, is it a mean meeting, and therefore unproductive was his conclusion about that type of meeting and those participants, that now he could go back and count. So he could count the number of words in the meeting and then look at all the different meetings he recorded and start to go, look at this one. They used all these words that fit in that category, right? This one they didn't. And then he was able to go back and say which ones were more productive, or was the company doing better, or were employees happier, and start to link up the two. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you think about how complicated that is, he took something very complicated, is the meeting productive and qualitative, and turned it into something quantitative that could be counted. Now it becomes just a matter of recording meetings, transcribing them, having somebody count them, right? Which, I'm the assistant researcher, so I do all the grunt work, right? He just sort of lays out the study, and then there's people that he has to help do it, right? And so then you can go back and say, it looks like if participants are using these type of words in the meeting, it's more productive, right? And he can say that kind of thing as conclusion of the research from the data. Okay, and so you have this thing that we're covering today of qualitative, or let's do it in the order I started, quantitative versus qualitative. And then listen to we're going to revisit the idea from the other day, which is so important. This idea of correlation, versus causality, right? So notice what, as he's rolling through this research process, turning qualitative ideas into quantitative ideas, and now trying to correlate and or establish causality. The meetings that were less productive used this set of words. That's a correlation. The meaner words from the mean list were being used in the less productive meetings, right? That means they're happening at the same time. That's a correlation. But do we know that those words are causing a less productive meeting? This becomes more difficult to establish, right? We think that because they're correlated, it may be causal or causing this to happen, but we don't know for sure until we do a lot of research and we see the findings pop up repeatedly, right? So in his case, he had to record a certain number of meetings before it was realistic. In other words, if he only did 10 meetings, would that be able to say it's causal? Maybe not. 10's not very many. What if he did 100 meetings and saw the same thing across 100 meetings? That may be more of a causation now, right? Now we can say, hey, it's probably causal. What if he did 1,000 meetings? What if he did 1,000 meetings and they were across different companies in different countries, and it still all started to come up correlated? Do you see how now we can start to go, I don't know for sure, but it's starting to look more like this is a causality. What would be the implications? If a company wanted to do better, maybe they changed the culture of their meetings. Maybe they encourage employees to use different language in the meetings, and the business does better. Are you with me? How exciting the research could be if this causal link could be found between that type of talking in a meeting versus a production. So this thing is a whole sort of chain of evidence going all the way back through your data. And you can start to explore a lot of topics, and it's kind of fun. I guess more fun when you're done, because that intermediate part where you're sitting there checking how many words fit a certain pattern, right? That can get really boring and really annoying. But nonetheless, just have your TA do it. You have your teacher's assistant do it, right? Okay, so let's see, one last check. All right, let's go ahead. I think that's everything. Okay?